Good afternoon. I'd like to call the October 10th, 2023 School Board Work Session to order. I think we're going to change things up a little bit, so we're going to start with our professional learning update from Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon, Board Chair, Vice Chair, members, and Dr. Daughtery. During this professional learning update, we will review the topics listed here. I'm Peyton Anderson, coordinator, and your professional learning team is made up of 4 specialists serving our division's professional learning needs. Thank you for your interest. Our annual modules always get a collective groan, but are essential to the compliance of the organization to federal, state, local, and school division-specific laws, policies, and expectations. As you can see, there is a trend of additional modules appearing each year with an anticipated amount of at least 22 total modules for the 24-25 school year. Not all modules are annual. Some are only at hire or every other year. Some examples would be new teachers complete 12 modules for approximately 4.5 hours of time, while our returning teachers complete 6 modules this year with an average of 2.5 hours of time to complete. The timeline for completion begins for our early go-getters in late May and then goes through late November. We also collaborate with several departments to create specific learning conditions to serve very specific needs such as finance enterprise. When rolling out the new system, we assisted in building the how-to guide alongside our finance department. As we move forward, we will continue to update content as needed and incorporate industry best practices into the modules to ensure an efficient and engaging experience. One goal for this year and years to come is to further explore how gamification techniques can best be deployed to increase engagement and retention of the content, and maybe lessen the groan when it comes to annual modules. We continue to provide a robust catalog of formal professional learning offerings, both at a division level as well as a school level. It is important to note here that these numbers only account for those formal learning offerings within ImpactU. It does not account for the external conditions that the individual staff member can upload that connects to their own learning through college coursework, conference attendance, etc. Our approval process begins with the assurance that critical race theory is not a part of the submitted course and sections. To date, there has not been any course or section submitted for approval with CRT as a formal element of the learning condition. We continue to provide regular scheduled reports each quarter on offerings loaded into ImpactU to the board for review. We continue to monitor and respond to the needs within the organization for a refresher of trainings, as well as deploying any new features that may benefit our users. All of this supports Goal 1.5 in our strategic plan. As you can see here, our numbers continue to grow as we welcome new teachers to CCPS. You will also notice that the PD sessions offered are also growing to meet the needs of our new teachers. Our 23-24 school year total so far of 123 by this month makes me very excited to see what this total will be by the end of the school year. These sessions account for those offered during new educator orientation and division level offerings throughout the year. This does not include the differentiated conditions schools create to meet the specific needs of their new staff members. We incorporated our annual subs into our new teacher professional development offerings since 2021. Offerings occur in all manners of delivery, as well as being centrally housed in Canvas for access by all throughout the year. Mentor coordinators at the school level assist us in the management and tracking of our new teachers and teacher mentors, as well as organizing school-based professional learning throughout the year. Our program goes well above and beyond the state's requirement. Our national board program has evolved to an in-house cohort to best support our CCPS teachers in their journey to becoming certified. We continue to partner with VCU for the RTR and clinical faculty programs. Both are pathways for VCU graduates interested in teaching to join CCPS while they are in their student teaching and licensing pathway. Teacher Lead is our oldest partnering program and serves teachers in learning more about being a leader. Several of our current principals and assistant principals have participated in this program as teachers. I myself was also a participant in this program many years ago. These two programs can also be considered as part of our leadership pipeline for building strong instructional leaders in CCPS. Scope continues to be a driving force in leadership development. We continue to grow our formal partnerships with higher ed institutions through our MOU process. These tuition discounts vary from 10 to 25% for CCPS staff for credit and non-credit courses. This list will continue to grow as we have a couple universities currently in the approval process as we speak, and I regularly field interest from many more. These three areas are only a few of our bigger target areas. We are all in on supporting our literacy efforts. LEGO continues to be a growing partnership as we begin using the kits deployed at the end of last school year. And we are also working to load and offer more asynchronous professional development centered on the technical aspects of programs such as spreadsheets, Google Drive, etc., to best serve our classified employees and support our annual subs. Once again, thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Board members, is there any discussion? Yep, thank you very much. Thank you for the update. So next we have Capital Improvement Program and Construction Update from Mr. Carson.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Doherty. I'm here briefly. Scott just presented this to the Board of Supervisors, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. It was a nice discussion of our short-term CIP. There are other projects, I just wanted to state that up front, that we have yet to determine their timing yet. So they're each a ways off, so never fear, there are other projects further out, but he's going to focus on what's on our plate right now. And look forward to turning over the microphone to Scott.
Thank you, Josh. Madam Chair, members of the board, I am so thrilled to be here today to speak to you once again about our CIP program and all of the progress that we have made thus far. It is a very robust program, and we are so fortunate to have your backing as well as the backing of the larger county, the recent bond referendum, and other funding sources to help us do great work for the citizens and students of the county. So I'm going to jump right in and talk to you about what we're doing with some of those sources of funds and how we've allocated them over the last couple of years and what we plan to do for the near term, as Josh had just mentioned. When Josh and I came on board, we were in the thick of the most recent bond referendum projects. Schools like Harrogate, Matoaka Elementary, Manchester Middle. In fiscal 2020, we spent well over $100 million on those very important projects. And as you can see here, that money has sort of come down a little bit over time as we are winding down that particular effort on CIP. And this year, currently, as of the date of this slide, we are at $9.6 million in funds spent. That's about $3.3 million per month in what we call burn, our burn rate. We checked today, we're a bit closer to $10 million this year spent. But what that means is our expenditures will rise more than likely up to about the fiscal 23 level, about $30 million, give or take, that we anticipate to spend during this fiscal year with efforts like Falling Creek Middle, Western Area Middle, and A.M. Davis really coming to the forefront. So we're picking it back up, picking up the pace. And we managed to the penny. We like to point that out too. The audit will show that. So here's what we're doing now. We were so fortunate and happy to tour all of you very recently here at the Falling Creek Middle School project. This project has a fantastic general contractor. We're focusing on the building right now. As you know, we're planning to reuse the existing Falling Creek Middle School as a staging area for Bensley once that goes into construction within about a year or so. But we are scheduled very aggressively here. We have a very tight spot, as you know, but we are going to be ready to open this facility in August of 2024 for the Falling Creek students, faculty, staff, and families. So we're pushing right along. It's a very aggressive program, very large building. As you know, you've all seen it and been able to experience the interior with our wonderful tour guide, Mr. Brian Haskins. And we're pushing this one right along. So we're very happy to report that we are on schedule for the building. The site work will be bid out within a few short years after the Bensley use is pretty well on its way. So switching over to the Matoaka district on the opposite side of the county, we are also well underway with a very similar program, albeit a slightly different arrangement on the site for the Western Area Middle School. We're very, very fortunate to have the same general contractor building Falling Creek as is building the West Area Middle School. Fingers crossed, they may also be interested in the A.M. Davis Elementary School, which is going out for bid actually later this month. I'll get to that in a moment. Again, similar program, a bit of a different configuration on this site, which is at the end of the existing Westerly Parkway. And we are scheduled to open up this facility in August of 2025. I may have misspoke when we presented to the Board of Supervisors. I was excited that day. Who wouldn't be? August of 2025, we will be opening, let the record show. We will open this in August of 2025. Very good program, very high need out there in the western part of the county. Couple of interior shots. We're very proud to be working with RRMM Architects, a long-term architect for both the elementary and the middle school sites. You saw the spacious gyms that we're planning for both of these locations, the main gym and an auxiliary gym, which is more of a high school type program, but we are bringing that to the middle school program here. Bright, open, spacious, plenty of seating, a real stellar change from where we have been with previous middle school programs. The auditorium, again, seating for more than half of the student capacity. Seating in the round where all seats are great and focused on center stage, with a sloped configuration, so every seat is a good one. And of course, the cafeteria. For those of you who recall, Miss Bailey, this is your district, the Falling Creek Middle School cafeteria. Boy, what a generous use of space we're giving to Falling Creek and WAMS. But plenty more seating, a lot of kitchen space, plenty of room and program for 3 bona fide lunches, plus space for teachers, which is also very important. But bright, open, and spacious, built to HB 2001 standards that allow for a lot of that outdoor lighting to come inside and help with our energy costs as well. Moving on to the elementary schools, we have a very packed program. I mentioned the A.M. Davis Elementary School. We just met with our architect this morning. We are scheduled to put this out for solicitation with our procurement department on October 27th. We're going to hit that target, open up bids, and we will come back to this board in December to ask for your permission to award this contract to our lowest and most responsible bidder for that effort. And we'll enter the site in January and have our first groundbreaking for the new ES program in early February. Very excited about that. A.M. Davis is scheduled to open in August of 25, again, at the same time as the West Area Middle School. It's a larger footprint than most of our current elementary schools. It's designed for 1,000 program capacity, 2 levels, and a little bit finer detail than our current prototype, but effective nonetheless for the needs of our students and overall program. Very aggressive set of interior design standards, gym, art, separating the cafeteria for the gym, which is also important. That way we're not hearing perhaps basketballs as we're trying to focus on our small children eating lunch, things of that nature. A.M. Davis, again, this year, Bensley Elementary School and the West Area Elementary School, we have started into our design programs for both of those. In fact, we've already met with the county on the Bensley program, and we're meeting tomorrow morning with the planning department to go over our initial scoping for the West Area Elementary School. That being said, we've listed here the Dale District Elementary School, perhaps opening in August of 26, as are the other two. Again, that's contingent upon site, timing, budget, things of that nature. But if August of 26th is a desired deadline, we need to get moving. So anyway, just keep that in mind. But that, again, is contingent on funding and the site. So I'm very happy with Mosley Architects, who's the architect for this particular program, and how we're pushing forward with this important work for the county. Okay, a couple of interiors photographs. We took our inspiration for A.M. Davis from Holiday Elementary over in Henrico. Some of the interior images from that facility include the learning stair, which is, along with the media center, it's really the heart of the building. Call it the 100% corner, but this is where the sort of hub of activity takes place inside the building. Could be used for multiple purposes, both for us and perhaps for our community partners, right here in the center of the building. The basketball court or the gymnasium, we do include a stage in this prototype, but again, as I mentioned, we've pulled the cafeteria out of the cafetorium model, keep that separate, and allow for distinct community and academic use of these two spaces. General purpose hallway, this is what a second floor hallway might look like, at A.M. Davis, with the higher bay ceiling, a lot of monitor lighting to allow natural light to come in. And what we've done along some of these hallways is we've recessed some of our interior spaces to create what we call extended learning areas. So if a breakout group, for instance, wants to pull out of a classroom to do a special project, or if a small group needs to meet, for instance, in that glassed-in space, it allows for a bit more flexibility for the way we actually teach, use, and occupy our classrooms and facilities these days. But again, bright, open, airy, and different modes of flexibility for different styles of learning and teaching. Okay. Moving away from the elementary school to our important new high school that we have really just completed the programming phase on. Stantec Architects is our architect for the new high school, which is modeled after Independence High School up in Loudoun County, just opened up a few years ago. It was about this time last year that our selection committee got together and traveled up and visited a number of Stantec's recent works, both in Loudoun and Falls Church, up there in the Northern Virginia area. But we fell in love with Independence High School. This facility's got it all, but for our needs and purposes, it's going to be over a 300,000 square foot building for 2,400 student capacity. It's the biggest thing we've built since Cosby and Clover Hill back in the early aughts. Again, I mentioned we're still in the programming phase. We've just inked the contract with Timmons to do their site due diligence, over on in the western part of the county where we plan to build this facility. And we will, in fact, I had a conversation with the architect yesterday, but they are kicking off their internal charrette work, actually bringing in a lot of their different folks from different, Stantec is a national firm, but they're actually bringing in healthcare and hospitality parts of their team to see how those types of disciplines might help inform, say, our cafeteria or our clinic type spaces. What have they learned through progressive architecture over the last couple of decades that might inform a proper high school design for this day and age? So looking forward to that. As the process goes, planning, design, permitting, all of that, we look to open this facility for the 2027-28 academic year. So that's moving along quite nicely. These are some design inspiration images that we picked up from both Independence High School and other Stantec designs. But again, you'll see that it's open, it's light, it's spacious, it's airy. The auditorium, every seat is a good one. Library is modeled after current thinking and library science, but again, over on the right-hand side, spaces for openness and collaboration for kids to move around, to have those serendipitous conversations that lead to better academic outcomes. In fact, the principal of Stantec, Bill Bradley, he actually has his PhD. He's actually an educator turned architect. So we really enjoy working with him because he's educating us too. How fun. This is our schedule. And again, I alluded to it as we walked through the elementary, middle, and high school slides. But we're looking to open up Falling Creek next year, followed in 2025 by affectionately the WAM site and A.M. Davis, along with a slew of elementaries in 2026, and of course the new high school in 2027. And we've indicated here by color the various funding sources, known or unknown, that we plan to use for these new facilities. Okay, right on track. And lastly, again, we love visitors at our sites. We love seeing you all in hard hats and safety vests and stepping over various types of equipment. But we're so proud to be able to show these facilities to you all and to our friends over on the county side as well. And occasionally we get to sneak a photograph in too to reflect or capture that moment in time where you've all been able to take part in our journey with these new elementary schools. So I want to thank you for that, and I hope that you come back and visit us again real soon. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Carson. Board members, any discussion or questions? Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank you for giving us the tours. It was really exciting. It was and very informative. I think really to, when you talk about the scale of these projects, and then when you're standing there, you realize how tremendous of a lift this is. And so I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to take us out there and for all that you're doing, all you and your team are doing, because it really is, it's a tremendous undertaking.
Just a quick question. Is there any update on a site selection for the Dale Elementary School? I know that there's been some discussion with the county as far as land and possible locations for that. And then also funding sources, which is really not your purview. So just wondering if you had any discussions with anyone about those things, because I really want to make sure, that doesn't, and the next board, make sure that elementary school does happen. And I see Josh jumped up to help you.
I'm going to turn it over to somebody whose purview that is.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's not entirely my purview, but county planning staff has discussed possible sites with our planning staff. And I'll give Justin and Diane credit. They've unearthed a few others. One that was suggested to us is way out in the west end of Dale, so we said we don't need a school at Woodpecker Road. And so at least there's been some dialogue there. And in regards to the funding, I'm not really aware of any serious discussions other than I've had a couple of occasional chats with Mr. Holland and talked about the importance of the project, and he agrees, but I haven't seen any real concrete movement towards identifying funds for the project yet. And Scott said we need to move quickly if we're going to finish it in 26. The truth is that date's slipping very quickly. So unless that funding and the site appears, we're going to go at least out to 27.
Do you have any suggestions as to how to move this conversation quicker? Anything for this board that we can do to escalate that conversation so that we can move forward?
Well, certainly Mr. Meister is going to be engaged with Mr. Harris on the county side, Dr. Doherty and Dr. Casey. But you and your counterpart, I think, are very key in regards to the Dale District. Mr. Holland is, and I'm not to really get into politics, but he's running unopposed. You have multiple folks coming in behind you, so there'll be a new member, and Mr. Holland will be in place, and hopefully there'll be some consensus about where to prioritize this work and get it underway. Our team is ready.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know I keep bringing this up, and again, it's not your purview, But I would encourage us to not be too hasty with the selection of the high school site, knowing that it is a tremendous expense. And you don't build high schools very often. And so thinking about how to make that high school accessible should the growth in the county pivot, for example, say to Bermuda District where Lego is coming, which would mean looking at access to roads, which can transport students quickly from one district to another. So I know that Cosby is overcrowded, but as I like to say to my kids, sometimes when you make the wrong decision, the consequences can be a little painful. And we, as a county, not this board but we have been behind in building, and we might have to be uncomfortable a little bit longer in order to choose the right site. So I would just encourage us to take a deep breath and realize that maybe it's more important to have a site that is fiscally more responsible, because if a center of growth changes, students will have access to this incredible resource. So I just have to throw that out there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carson. Next, we have gifted education update from Dr. Foyle.
All right, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Dr. Daugherty. Greetings from the Office of Gifted Education. We are a team of 5 specialists, a CBG enrichment teacher, and an amazing administrative secretary that holds it together. And it's a joy to just come to you and share a little bit about the work that we're doing in the division to support our teachers and to really impact instruction for all our kids. So it's just a joy to be here. Today, my presentation is going to cover these 5 areas. I want to explain a little bit about how we are engaging our families, how we're seeking to really empower our teachers, impact instruction for all kids, and then celebrate a little bit of the results of our efforts, and then give a preview of coming attractions in our future work that lies ahead. The first part of it all is how we want to really educate our parents. Gifted education should not be a mystery for our families. And there's always, some kind of, mystery behind it. And part of our efforts is to dissolve that and make our parents aware of the opportunities that exist for their kids. We have, in the transition to our new website, there was an overhaul of the CCPS webpage. We also have translated resources in multiple languages. So when our schools need resources, they can email our office and we provide those resources to them. We have information sessions for programs and community outreach events, trying to meet parents and families where they are. Upcoming is our a great event, a community outreach event to our parents called Glimpse into Gifted. It's on October 19th. It's a great time where parents can come and learn, what is gifted? Is my kid gifted? And really have very normal language conversations so that parents can learn more. We're going to have some Spanish translators there for families. We're going to serve them dinner, really make it a welcoming environment. It's the the Beulah Recreation Center that night. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're really excited about that. Really getting into the community and giving an idea of those opportunities that are available. We're also looking at making practical resources available to our teachers and meaningful professional learning opportunities that build and that they can use in their classroom to engage their students. We have the Gifted Connections portion of the portal where they can go and they can access work sample examples that they can adapt or even use in their classroom for differentiated instruction. There are regular activities in there that they can use as warm-ups and supplemental activities to teach critical and creative thinking and creativity. We have we continue with our in-person and virtual practice, best practices professional learning, so they can really examine the social emotional needs of our kids, the cognitive needs of our kids, and even the psychomotor needs of our children, and really meet them in the classroom. Also very exciting is what we call TeacherCon. We held a session of that this summer at Manchester Middle School. It's exciting because we call it, like, I think of it as just one gigantic PLC. Teachers from across the county share what they're doing in their classrooms with other teachers. And so they get to go back to their classrooms and they replicate it. And it's a great sharing of ideas, and the feedback we receive from our teachers, they always leave encouraged, empowered, and it's just an exciting day for our teachers. And then we also have another opportunity with our partnership with University of Richmond with a gifted endorsement cohort. Our goal is to get a gifted endorsed teacher in every school so that we can open up those opportunities so that they have a resource in their building so that they can collaborate as a building and really come together and elevate instruction for all kids. The activities that we have for reaching our students, right now we are collaboratively working with the Office of Curriculum as well as other departments to build extension resources for use during workshop for literacy development in elementary school. This is in response to the needs of our teachers as they seek to deliver that good Tier 1 instruction through open court and helping them manage that workshop time. We are endeavoring to complete these supplemental resources for teachers for all units and for all of those elementary grade levels this school year to really support them as they seek to figure out what workshop looks like in their classroom and what they can do to meet kids where they are and develop that literacy in those students. We continue to implement our Inspire programs across impacting 4,000 students across our schools. And we also have those creativity tasks that are available in the curriculum portal. One other thing is we have a CBG enrichment teacher that pushes into CBG classrooms to deliver content-based or interest-based enrichment experiences. And students are finding them engaging and very fulfilling because it is pursuing it's based on their interest and based on what they're learning on in the classroom. And it's an exciting time to see. Some of the results of our work, just to share some of the numbers with the board today. These are our numbers of identified gifted students over time. We are seeing an increase in the number of students and the access that they have to our programs. One of the things that we have is monitor status, which is when we have a student who has not met the criteria for gifted eligibility, but is almost there and they have that potential, we place them on monitor status and we review them in 2 years. So it's never a shut door, it's let's wait and see. And the best thing, last year, we just went through our first evaluation cycle of those monitor status students. 89% of those students were found eligible for gifted services. And that was so encouraging because before those students would have been said no. And now that door of opportunity is open to them. So exciting to share that news with you today. This is the incoming freshman class for Appomattox Regional Governor School overtime, broken down by ethnicity and gender. You'll notice over time, these numbers are often dependent on the number of applications we receive. I also would like to highlight the numbers of Maggie L. Walker Governor School overtime. We are seeing a greater access to our programs in our governor schools by all students in our communities. And so sharing these numbers with you is very exciting as we really lead and provide that opportunity for our students at these governor schools. And finally, a preview of the work ahead. We are excited about the collaboration that really exists in our division to develop literacy in our students. We are collaborating across departments to really continue that work, and we will further that work this school year. We are going to expand our Inspire programs and offer that opportunity. We have been in discussions with administrators to see what interest there is for certain programs. as well as the second semester of this year, we're hoping to start the process of guidelines for school-based gifted programming, like we did with our center-based gifted programming several years ago, just to increase that division-wide consistency so that there are certain characteristics in our school-based gifted program that are consistent from school to school. And then finally, I will mention that as we build new schools, we will obviously need to look at our CBG site feeder patterns, especially as we add additional elementary schools in the 360 corridor and a new middle school. We'll have to look, we'll work with planning to see how we can work to adjust those feeder patterns so that we can serve kids closer to where they live. And that is what I have today for our gifted education update, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Board members, any discussion or questions? Yep, Ms. Heffron?
Thank you. When, and I may have missed this, when did we start the monitor status program?
Monitor status was introduced in 2017 with the new identification process.
Right, and we're seeing good, I mean, obviously 89%, that's fantastic.
That is the first review after the pandemic. And so that was our first real gauge of the status of that program.
Okay. And then my other question is about the governor's school. Are we seeing movement in the right direction? I guess the results that we were hoping to see from the adjustments that we made with the middle school slot allotments?
Yes, ma'am. I think if you look at the numbers from 2021 and 2023, it shows a more representative sample from our division heading to the governor's school. We did see a dip in 2022, but that was the year of the pandemic, and we saw fewer applications that year.
So are we seeing students take advantage of that pretty much across the board, like equally across the board across schools?
Yes, ma'am. And our counselors are actually really amazing in recruiting kids to apply for these programs and for our specialty centers in Chesterfield County. They really take great pride in seeking out those kids and making sure that that they seek this out and they apply through it. They support them through the application process and make sure they have all their T's crossed and I's dotted. It's very cool to see. They do an amazing job.
That's good to hear. Thanks.
Yeah.
And to follow up with Ms. Heffron, because George and I have already spoken about this, there's also not been any rebounding. They're not coming back to us once accepted. They're actually staying at the governor's school and being successful. So I thought that was the most positive statistic, is that they are finding success there. And I serve on the Maggie Walker, that's why I know that, because I ask that all the time. And you're Appomattox, right. So I'm always curious, are our kids staying and maintaining success after our switch in the acceptance process? And it is successful, from my understanding.
Yes, they are thriving there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for an amazing presentation. A couple comments. The Glimpse into Gifted program, love that. And this is more for special education than you, but it looks fantastic. And I would love to see a program like that, but for special education, like a glimpse into special education. For the gifted endorsement teacher in every school, as you know, part of my passion is reaching gifted students who are not identified because they have a IEP or a 504, special education needs. And my sense is that we might need to get a gifted endorsed teacher in every school in order to find those students, because they have that expertise and they can see the kids that frankly are being missed. Would love to know your thoughts on anything, again, for the next board, that we should keep an eye on ways to increase the two lowest percentages, English learners and students with disabilities in our gifted population.
All right. Thank you very much. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Dr. Foyle. I believe our next presenter is going to be in here momentarily.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you may want to take a short break.
Okay.
Unfortunately, our Our speaker, who is, a volunteer from the community, is the chair of the School Board Advisory, got caught up in transit.
Okay.
So we hope to have him here shortly.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute, 10. 2 minutes, okay.
A 2-minute break.
We will take a 2-minute recess.
Okay, I'll see.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Now we have a report from our School Board Audit and Finance Committee with Mr. Meister and Mr. Miller-Pitts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Dr. Doherty, other members of the board. I just want to take a really quick second to introduce Mr. Miller-Pitts, who is our Audit and Finance Committee Board Chair, who, along with his group, has put together this wonderful presentation for you. With that, I will turn it over to Stephen.
Good afternoon to everybody. Stephen Miller-Pitts, the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee for the school board. Thank you for allowing me to present before you this afternoon to our elected school board members, our superintendent. This is the history of the committee. The Audit and Finance Committee was established by the school board October 9, 2018, pursuant to the CCPS memorandum numbered 116-18. I just want, before we start the presentation, to go over some of the duties of the committee before I introduce the committee members. And so in this memorandum that was revised in 2020, the duties of the AFC is to participate in training and review activities related to the Chesterfield County Public Schools' existing strategic plan, financial policies, and budget and process to have a better understanding of the CCPS priorities, historical expenditures, staffing and performance data, and projected revenue and expenditure activity. Receive reports from the school division management and internal auditor regarding internal control processes and recommended changes to policies and procedures. Recommend additional internal control processes as appropriate, and report to the school board on significant results of the foregoing activities. 3, review the CCPS quarterly financial reports and evaluate trends and projections. Review other financial reports such as OPB, SRP, valuation, etc. 4, initiate upon the school board's request any study on specific topics or issues. The AFC may also suggest topics or issues to address with the concurrence of the school board. And 5, present with written report which may include recommendations to the school board that address a specific topic or issue. So I just want to go over our duties so that every board member knows that we understand our charge and our responsibility as we meet monthly to provide you with our activities and recommendations. So when you look at this slide, you'll see that I'm Stephen Miller-Pitts. I am the Bermuda representative. This is my second term, and I'm the chair for these next 2 years. In Clover Hill, we have Dr. Tijuana Giles. In the Dale District, we have Dr. Chandra Kane. In the Midlothian District, we have Dr. Terry Perkins. And in Matoaka District, we have Tony Fuller. And so those are the members of the current AFC committee. And so these are the recommendations that we made last year this time to the school board to fully support the ERP project with the appropriate reasoning behind that. Full support of salary studies with the appropriate reasoning behind that. And then support of the bond referendum. And so the AFC committee provided these recommendations last year to the school board. I was part of that committee that came up with these recommendations. So committee activities for the last year are as such. We received reports. I'm sorry that font might be a little small. My apologies. I blame Bob over here. I blame him. So we got the report from the federal funding reports, updates on ESRA, and I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence. So I know you can read, and you've received the written report that matches this presentation. And so here are some of the activities and the reports that were received on a monthly basis. And continuation, we received from the superintendent just recently his proposed financial plan for fiscal year 2024. And the proposed capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2024. So moving on to the internal audit, which is some of our most rambunctious conversations as a committee when we get audit reports, because we ask a lot of questions, and the staff is able to provide a lot of wonderful answers. And then, and when they're not, they point the fingers at you all. And so that's kind of how this happens. All right, and so these are some of the reports that we received from our wonderful internal auditors. Um, One of the areas that I want to highlight, and because this is a stickler for one of the members, but when we received the athletics audit and the school athletic programs, we just have some general conversations around the controls put in place to make sure that certain recommendations that we receive in the audits are then properly held to the standard across the board. And so that's one of the areas that I do want to point out from one of the members that wanted to ensure that the school board ensured that recommendations were being used and moved throughout each school. Okay, and so now we come to our committee recommendations. And so one of the projects, the ERP project, we want the continued support from the school board. We recommend that all necessary support be provided for the successful implementation of the ERP project. And when we look at this project, we recognize there are some things that are unknown or untold as this project comes into the creation and implementation phase. But we want to highlight that we recognize that the whole life cycle process of this project and making sure that all the systems cross collaborate and talk so that we are getting the best bang for the buck for this new system, and all of our different agencies within the school system have a piece of this, and there's ways to pull the data seamlessly. And so with that, we want to make sure that the school board is aware of this recommendation and ensuring that we utilize the features in the most efficient way. And that also comes into sometimes putting more dollars behind concurrent training and updates and new possibilities on how to maneuver the system. Moving to the next one, when we received the technology and the hardware report, a lot of the recommendations were very foundational in the appearance of processes and good systems in place. And so that this also coincides with the ERP project, ensuring that this system can have some type of accountability system within it so that the management and the inventory, the asset manager and the inventory management is properly tracked in the system, and a new system isn't needed when we're paying all this money for a system. That should be able to cross-talk and cross-populate the necessary information. And then lastly, we want to ensure that the school board understands that we, the citizens and the community, recognize that Chesterfield County Public Schools is a great place to live and a great school system, but we need to ensure that we keep our best talent, that we're paying livable wages to draw the best talent. As we expand as a county with all the development, our school systems need to expand, and we need to ensure that our teachers and the community members and the students are receiving the necessary resources in accordance with some of the things that are happening across the county, right? And so I fully understand that your school board and some of these conversations have to do with your counterparts at the Board of Supervisors. But when we look at developments, if we need new schools and it takes 5 to 10 years to put a plan in place and to build the school, and the developers are putting up houses in a 1 to 2 year clip, something doesn't match because the people are going to come, families without space for their students, right? And then this all is a microcosm that feeds into the economy, livable wages and workers for those that don't have students, that don't necessarily care for the school system because they're not directly impacted by it, but they are, right? The more we can pour into the students, the better product that we have on the back end, and that means that everybody has a better community to be a part of. And so my final thoughts is that it is a delight to serve on this committee. I'm very honored to serve as the chair. My predecessors ensured that We approach everything from an objective view, regardless of our ideologies, but with the intent of providing the best recommendations to you all so that we can pour into our community and the school system and get the best product in return. Because we are, in fact, in this together, and we are better together. So I appreciate your time this afternoon, and thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller-Pitts. Board members, any discussion or questions? Go ahead, Ms. Efron.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo what you were saying to make sure so I hear you want a consistent application to remedy the internal audit suggestions. And I think we all support the ERP having cross-system functionality. We're very, we've been following that. It's been definitely a priority for our board as we've been moving through the process. And I thank you for you and the committee for your support of promoting equity throughout the community. And I absolutely, agree that as we grow, we need to make sure that we're putting things where they need to be. So I appreciate your help on the board, on the committee, and your volunteering to be of service. Thank you.
Thank you.
I too just want to say thank you for your service on the Audit and Finance Committee, and I definitely appreciate, I believe it was a comment a couple months ago by one of the members to do a follow-up. We have the presentations from the Audit and Finance, we have the recommendations, we implement those recommendations, but then circling back to do a follow-up. So thank you for all your suggestions and all of your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks. So next we have announcements, communications, and school board comments. School board members, are there any announcements or comments? The next school board business meeting will be held this evening, October 10th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. If there's no further public business, we need to enter into closed session, which will be held in the public meeting rooms conference room. Madam Clerk, please announce the items for today's closed session.
Discussion and consideration of personnel disciplinary matters, and 2, the discussion and consideration of student disciplinary matters and matters that would involve the disclosure of student records.
Members of the board, you have just heard the items requested to be discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion in that regard?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on the motion?
Dot Hepron,
Aye.
Debbie Bailey,
Aye.
Ryan Harder,
Aye.
Catherine Haynes,
Aye.
Ann Coker.
Aye. We are now in closed session.